Hello. Tonight's book is The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins. He wrote it in 1860. Yes, another Victorian novel. This is a detective novel and a mystery, but it's also a sensation novel, which is a genre that was popular at the time. Sensation novels featured shocking and taboo subject matter, which is certainly the case in this book. As far as being a detective novel, it's considered to be one of the first detective novels. You might think about how Sherlock Holmes called himself the first consulting detective. But these people predate Sherlock Holmes, and they were amateurs. They weren't professionals like Sherlock Holmes considered himself to be. The book has multiple narrators, mostly in the form of journal entries, but also some witness statements. And it was very, very popular. I have heard it said that they sold a perfume called the Woman in White perfume. Always marketing. So the characters are, the first one on the scene is Walter Hartright. He is a handsome young art instructor with a strong sense of morality and honor. Our next character is Frederick Fairley, and he has no honor and he is not moral. He's a narcissistic hypochondriac whose ridiculous self-serving comments about himself are quite humorous, whether he intended it or not. He lives in a estate, a very wealthy estate in northern England, and with him lives these two young ladies. The first one is Laura Fairley. That's his sweet, beautiful niece. And she is the heiress to the estate. Her father was Frederick's brother, but he died. And Marion Halcombe is Laura's older half-sister. They had the same mother. And her father was not wealthy. She is described in the book as ugly. Actually says that. She is very smart, however. You might think these two would hate each other. You would think Marion, the unattractive, impoverished sister, would resent the beautiful, wealthy sister, but she doesn't. She loves her to pieces. It's one of the charms of the story, is the affection and loyalty these two sisters have for each other. Now we will come to the woman in white herself. She is a mysterious young woman, kind of lurking in the fog. She is the spitting image of Laura, but a little bedraggled. Sir Percival Glyde, a baronet, an abusive, dishonorable man. This book is big on these people are honorable, and these people aren't. These people are despicable. There's not too much gray area here. And the last one of my main characters is Count Fosco. He is an enormously fat Italian. Collins emphasizes the fact that this man is overweight. Every time Fosco lumbers onto the scene, he's described as like the enormous Count Fosco or something like that. He's charming, bombastic, well-educated. He knows medicine, music, opera, chemistry. He keeps little pets, mice, canaries, and a cockatoo, and he is quite likable. But we shall see about that. So here's the plot. Walter, remember, he's the art instructor. He is hired by Frederick Fairley, remember, he's a hypochondriac, to come to northern England to his estate to be a drawing master, that's our teacher, for Laura and Marion. Now, the night before he goes, he's kind of going for a walk on one of the various heaths around London, whatever a heath is. He's having second thoughts, but he's going to go. But he's wandering around thinking things over, and it's a foggy night. And out of the gloaming pops the lady in white. And she comes over, puts her hand on his shoulder, and asks for if he can give her some advice to get a carriage or something so she can go to her friend's house. But while they're talking, it develops that she spent some time living at the same estate in northern England where Walter is heading. That's kind of a coincidence. A little later, as he's walking around, he overhears two police officers who are looking for a young girl in white who they say escaped from a mental institution, and note that she's very dangerous. So next day he gets to the estate and he meets his two students, Laura and Marion, and he's shocked at the resemblance between Laura and the woman in white that he met on the heath the night before. Time goes on, the three have a lovely time together, and you will not be surprised to hear that Laura and Walter fall in love. Now, Marion is unhappy at this turn of events, not because she's jealous, but because Laura is engaged to be married to Sir Percival, who is arriving soon. And Laura knows now that she loves Walter and not Percival. It's not sure she ever did love Percival. She is only marrying Percival because her dying father, promised her to Percival. Those were the times. And now, out of a sense of honor, she plans to keep her promise to marry Sir Percival. But a letter comes, kind of a poorly written letter. It comes warning her, anonymous letter, warning her, saying that Sir Percival is a brute and that he mistreated her, the whoever it is who wrote the letter, and put her in the asylum. So actually now we know who wrote it. We know the woman in white wrote the letter. And this distresses Laura and Marion, who's always worried about her sister. And so they think, well, if this turns out to be true, then I really can't marry him and I have a way to get out of it. But Sir Percival comes and he has an explanation for everything. He says that Anne Catterick turns out to be the woman in white's name, Anne Catterick. She actually did live on the estate for a while. Her mother was a servant there, and when she was a little girl, she went to school in the area. And so she wasn't a stranger to the local people at all. And but they didn't realize she was in the asylum. But anyway, Sir Percival says that she became unmanageable. Her mother couldn't manage her, and so he paid for a nice mental institution for her. And that satisfies the lawyer and Mr. Fairley and everyone, and so the wedding can proceed. But Laura and Marion have their doubts. So Walter feels the honorable thing to do is to leave the estate, and he moves to Honduras. And Laura and Sir Percival do get married, and they go on a rather extensive honeymoon in Italy. And they come back, and Laura has subtly changed. She's a little withdrawn, pretty unhappy, and seems to have some secrets. And they bring back with them Count Fosco. Remember Count Fosco? Birds and all. He comes back, and he's very charming. He sets about charming everybody. And his role in this house, which there's tension in the house now, and his role is to calm things down. This is what he does. He wants to calm things down, using very silver tongue speech. Now it develops that Sir Percival is flat out broke, and he needs Laura's money, probably why he married her to begin with. And so he wants her to sign this document, and it's cleverly folded up so that she can only see the sign on this line. And she says she's not going to sign it until she has a chance to read it. And maybe her lawyer should be there and read it too. And Sir Percival says, no, I'm your husband, you have to sign it. She doesn't want to sign it. And so they go back and forth a little bit. It gets really tense. It's almost starting to reach a stage of some violence. And Count Fosco calms everybody down and says, let's do this tomorrow. But they don't do it tomorrow, because this is the event, the Laura's refusal to sign the document sight unseen, that leads to the central catastrophe of this novel. Now, in all the other books I've talked about on here, I've had no hesitation to tell the whole plot from beginning to end, because they weren't mysteries. They were they were just stories like one thing happened to the other, but there really wasn't like a central mystery or. But in this case, I'm not going to tell you what the central mystery is. There's 3 mysteries actually, but I'm not going to tell you what they are because that would be just an unforgivable spoiler. Because I want you all to read this book because it's great. So, mum's the word for a little while. Some months go by, and Walter comes back from Honduras, meets up with Marion, and they realize that they have to solve 3 mysteries that have happened. And so they set about it in naturally the most honorable way imaginable, and using detective level sleuthing things. And I will only say that the mysteries, of which there are 3, are solved and justice is done in a very satisfactory way. So the themes of this novel, I think, could be pretty obvious. Is the terrible lack of rights that women had back in the Victorian times. You don't have to be a feminist to realize that Laura was bamboozled into marrying a terrible person. Her father didn't care about her, and her uncle, Richard Fairley, didn't care about her. Both these men, 2 men should have been watching out for her. She was only 20. Completely let her down. And so she was let down by her husband, her dad, and her uncle. And the only person, until the latter part of the story, who really seemed to care about her was Marion. They got a lawyer on their side too eventually. You didn't believe him at first. You'll see. So the book itself has written in a style which I made up a term for it called eventualism, because it's written in such a way that when one thing happens, you know that eventually this sort of thing is going to happen. And when that happens, you realize that eventually another thing is going to happen, that one thing is going to lead to another. And for instance, when you discover that Laura and the lady in white, Anne Catherick, look very much alike, a lot of ideas will come to mind. And believe me, a lot of ideas happen. So when the big catastrophe happens, the central catastrophe of the story happens, you are shocked but not surprised. So there are a lot of movies, radio shows, all kinds of things, media produced about this very popular book. The one I liked the best was in 2018. There was a 5-part BBC miniseries. I followed the book really closely. I just finished reading the book and then turned on the miniseries, and I could tell that it was the lines from the TV production were just taken verbatim out of the book. I like that kind of thing. And it had a beautiful cast. The art instructor was properly handsome, and the hypochondriac was properly degenerate looking, and Laura was really beautiful. She looked like an elf daughter. She long blonde hair, big blue eyes, frail, wispy. Marion, who was described in the book as ugly, was not ugly at all. She was actually a very nice-looking young woman. But they sadly miscast Count Fosco, who, remember, was fat and bombastic and loud, and they cast this rather small Italian fellow who was a great talker. I mean, as far as his audio output went, he really was great. He was very slick. He was kind of fascinating to listen to. But he was kind of an inflated, in many ways, version of the Count Fosco of the book. For instance, here's an example. On the estate, people go for walks in the park. Just go for walks on the grounds. So a group of the main characters are walking along, and they come upon Count Fosco in the book. What's he doing? He's dancing around. He's got an accordion, which he's squeezing. He's playing Mozart, and he's singing The Marriage of Figaro at the top of his lungs. This is great. I mean, it is a great moment in the book. But in the miniseries, he's not doing much. It's deflated, his personality and his form are greatly shrunken. But I think that was a really good miniseries. I really liked it. I really stuck to it, and you got the heart of the book. Some adaptations of all kinds sometimes just completely miss the heart of the original source material, but that's not the case here. They got it pretty good. Not so with the one I watched in 1997. It seemed to be originally another miniseries, but it seemed like it was compressed because I saw it as one complete movie presented by Masterpiece Theater, and I saw it on YouTube. Now this one had terrible casting. And the two sisters. One of the charms of the book, one of the main themes of the book is the difference between the two sisters, yet how fond they were of each other. They looked completely opposite. Marion is dark hair, dark eyes, not attractive at all, and Laura is beautiful, etc. And yet they love each other very much. In this movie, they looked so much alike that at times I couldn't even tell who was on the screen. They really looked a lot alike, and Laura looked the same too. So the three of them, who were they? You really couldn't tell them apart much of the time. And characters just didn't have the sense of honor and virtue that they had in the book. In fact, after the catastrophe, Marion, in her attempt to solve the mysteries, turns very much to the dark side. Now, there are 3 mysteries in the story, as I've said, and the book and the first miniseries I described solve them nicely, but this one, 2 of them are completely mangled. Stories like this have to do a lot with who's related to who, without going into too many details and spilling the beans. But you got to have you have to set up the story just right, so you know who's related to who. And if you get that wrong, the rest of the story doesn't really make sense, and that unfortunately happened here. And the third mystery, that one involving Count Fosco, just slid off the screen. Never happened. It was never explained at all. So it was not a very good adaptation of the book. Now, if I hadn't read the book, I wasn't so impressed with it. I might, if I ventured upon this on some rainy Sunday afternoon and watched it, I would have thought it was a satisfactory B-grade movie, and I would have enjoyed it. But knowing what I know, what the book is really about, sorry, no. And then for about 5 seconds, I watched a musical. And you know what I think about Broadway-style singing. So I'm not even going to hazard that with much more to say about it. So the ratings. The book is 10 out of 10. It's an honorable book. It values decency and loyalty. It also shows that even if you're not a feminist, you can appreciate some of the rights women have. You get to choose who you want to marry. Now, but I must say, Laura had the legal right to choose who to marry. But her sense of morality that she had at the time and the social pressure that was on her, she really felt she had to marry Sir Percival. And there are not very many people who behave in that way today. I don't know that I would myself. Now the other miniseries, well, the BBC miniseries, I also give a 10 out of 10. I forgive them for miscasting Fosco. In 1997 version, 2 out of 10. I really didn't like it very much. All these movies. Why do movie makers, TV makers? This is something they did back in the day. They don't do this very much anymore, I don't think. Is that everything happens at night and it's dark. A lot of scenes are just dark with a few lights here and there. You can't see anybody. Why do they do that? Is it to save money on sets? I don't know. But that was a very popular thing at one time. I don't see too many movies, so maybe it's still popular. But I just have this little TV, and I just can't see what's going on half the time. And so the book gets 10, the BBC miniseries gets 10 out of 10, and the terrible movie gets 2 out of 10. I give some people credit for even making a movie. It's more than I can do. So that's all for The Woman in White. And thank you for listening. And I hope you overlook my fumbles and mumbles. And I still haven't got my editing software terribly figured out. And so that's all there is for tonight. And go and read a good book.